Hello, beautiful being. Welcome to Divinely Inspired, where we interview thought leaders, change agents, visionaries, and those amazing people who are walking their talk and helping inspire us to be our best selves. People who are bringing the divine feminine, the divine masculine, source, freedom, sovereignty to our world of great change and awakening. I'm your host, Divinely Jennifer. Welcome. So, today on the inaugural episode of Divinely Inspired, my guest is the very beautiful Amber Annette. Amber is a life and business psychic medium and coach. She has changed the lives of countless women across the world for better with her divinely inspired work, helping women to tap into the messages of their soul and to bring their gifts to the world so that we can all be of service in making this world a better place. I've known Amber for, almost 7 years now, and it's been so beautiful to be inspired by her on a regular basis as she continually stands in her truth. There is no BS about Amber. She is who she says she is. She trusts fully in the divine. She walks the talk. And it is my pleasure to interview her here and for her to inspire you as well to step into your best self as a beautiful, divine, sovereign being. So, with no further ado, here is the first episode of Divinely Inspired and our guest today, Amber Annette. So, Amber Annette, thank you so much for joining me today on the very first inaugural premiere episode of Divinely Inspired. And to me, you were such a natural choice to be my first person that I interview. You have inspired me for years in the work that we have done together and the work that you have brought to the world. And you also have inspired me so much to be my divine self and to keep calling my highest self forward and to bring my gifts forward. And so it's just such a pleasure to have you here with us today. So thank you for taking the time.
What an amazing welcome. Well, thank you and congratulations. I also just want to say I think it's amazing when you can see somebody, we were just talking, like we've been connected in this space for almost 7 years. So to watch you grow and evolve and step into and become this amazing woman and this light leader in this world, which we so need, has been just absolutely amazing.
Oh,
So
thank you.
cheers and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, I want to get
Yeah.
right to it for my listeners. You are an extremely talented psychic medium. That's how I met you, was as an intuitive through that work, but and also a business coach that's come from your professional background and also from what you channel. And just thinking about that, feeling into the intuitive psychic part, how old were you when you realized that you could connect with the divine, with source, with spirit? And how did that affect your childhood?
Yeah, great question. I definitely, I think the interesting thing is when I look back over my life, I was only scared of one thing. I was always scared of like the supernatural, like terrified. Like I couldn't listen to ghost stories. I could not watch scary movies, like terrified my whole life. Until in 2013, with the birth of my son, this gift just came alive. I actually started seeing my father in law, who was in spirit. He died when my husband was 7. So I never, of course, even met him in my home and just started hearing things, feeling things, and was kind of terrified I might be like having severe postpartum depression. But it turns out that I was actually just my gifts as a psychic medium were coming alive. So um, yeah, I actually went to see a psychic and I had shared with one of my girlfriends I was having some stuff going on, and she said you should go see a psychic medium. And I remember my words to her. I was like, "What is that? I don't even know what that means. Like, what is that?" I mean, of course, I'd like heard the word psychic throughout the years, but I had never really known what that meant, like it was that kind of traditional thought of fortune teller, crystal ball, like that just ridiculous image I think that some people can still get even to this day. And I went and I had this reading. And at the end, she asked if I had any questions. It was amazing reading. And I said, well, yeah, like, why is all this happening to me? And she looked at me and she said, well, don't you understand? You're supposed to do what I do. And out of my mouth, I said, oh, yeah, I remember now. And I've told this story 10,000 times and I still have truth bumps every time I tell it because it was in that moment. I literally just remembered, this is my purpose. This is what I'm here to do. I have this gift. I can do this. And within a matter of days, I was doing readings for people at my kitchen table who I had never met before, connecting them with their past loved ones, like hours and hours, bringing forward like beautiful, specific memories and moments and mannerisms. I mean, it was just incredible. Within a couple months, I was doing group readings for people up to 25, 30. I mean, it was an instant gift that awakened. So, yeah.
Wow, I have chills too. Like when you said that, I just felt it throughout my whole body. So it's not, some people they just know from this tall that this is who they are, but for you, it's something that was lying dormant within you until that magical moment when spirit said, "All right, Amber, it's time."
Yeah. Yeah. It was time. And, I think the bigger thing is that when she said that to me and it just literally came out of my mouth, I never doubted it. I never questioned it. I never pushed back. I instantly left there and started practicing it. Like, is this real? Like, I want to see if this is true. Like, and it was. And so I think we often like question our calling,
Mhm.
and instead of just letting, it started out as that question, is this real? Can I actually do this? That question that I had when I got in my car leaving her house. The question then turned to a curiosity of, okay, now I want to try this. Like, I'm really curious. I want to play here. I want to just explore. I need somebody that's willing to let me test this out and see if this is if this is legit. But then that curiosity turned to the calling, like where it's all I wanted to do. It's all I could think about. It's all I was dreaming about it. I was writing about it. I was practicing it. I just started living that calling. And that is almost 8 years ago. And I can't even tell you how much happiness, bliss, success, joy, love, money, like all of it follows. I mean, that because like you've watched me go through this, girl. Like, you have been in this with me, but man, it makes it actually activated a new purpose in me, which is to help other people find their calling. Because, oh my gosh, like, how can you not be on purpose every day? How can you not be doing what you love and loving what you do? And so it just activated a whole new calling inside of being a psychic medium.
Yeah, definitely. And I know some of us are a little bit more stubborn about acknowledging that calling, but you just dove into it. And at the time, you had a pretty successful career in the banking industry.
Yeah, yeah. I had been almost 15 years. I mean, I'm talking like investments and insurance license, assistant vice president overseeing business development in large community. I mean, it was just amazing career. Loved it. Literally loved every single second of it. Until this gift awakened. And then I couldn't not do this. I couldn't not be in this gift. I couldn't not share it with the world. I couldn't go to a bank anymore Monday through Friday. No, I needed to be in my gift. And so man, it didn't take long. It only took about 6 months where I was able to replace the six-figure salary. It when completely, I know you love to talk about surrender. I mean, I yielded to the gift, and I trusted, and I had faith, and I had belief that I was meant to bring this gift to the world. And if I did that and I honored that and I followed that, it would work out. And again, now I'm looking at, almost 8 years later, it's been pretty good.
Wow. How did your husband and your kids react when you told them?
Well, there were two reactions that I got from my husband. The first reaction was when I told him that I thought I was a psychic medium. And he was like, okay. He was a little hesitant, but I think he thought it would be like maybe a phase, or like maybe I would like get into tarot cards or something. I have no idea what he was actually thinking in his head. I've never actually asked him, but he was supportive, and we naturally kind of between the two of us kind of kept it a little on the quiet side for a while, until some just really beautiful, like undeniable moments happened with our friends, with our family, where I was connecting people with their past loved ones. He was present and was like literally and on, just speechless. And he's really been my biggest fan ever since. It's made our marriage like the best. I mean, like, we've been together for almost 20 years. We'll be together 20 years this year. And it's made us better. It's made us stronger. He believes in me in a level that sometimes even I just, it's helped. It really has. It's strengthened our marriage. And then the second thing was when I told him I was going to be leaving my corporate job of 15 years that had benefits and guaranteed paycheck every 2 weeks. But he supported me. I mean, he said, you know what you're doing, and I just felt it, and I felt the calling, and so I did it. And so um what was interesting is a lot of people that I told were not surprised, which, looking back, I was shocked. Like, I had no idea. I had no idea that I had this gift, or that's what had been happening my whole life. But a lot of people I told were like, "Oh, that makes total sense for you," which I thought was kind of interesting. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. So how do you feel like have you changed, or how do you feel like you have changed since you have developed and cultivated this relationship to the other side, to spirit, source, the universe?
I think it's more of a question. I can't tell you one thing that's probably stayed the same. I mean, I I the way I live my life is different. The way I go into my day is different. The way I treat my children is different. The way I show up in my marriage is different. The way I try to come at everything of just be good to people, and just in just a different way. That was definitely probably not who I was before. But I think even more so is how I treat myself. I I give myself a lot of space and a lot of grace. I pay attention to energy more than anything else. I watch what I'm sensing, what I'm feeling, and I trust it. I trust myself more than I trust anything else on this planet. I follow my intuition. I really I'm really in alignment with what I work with my clients on. I never ask them to do something I haven't been willing to do myself. I teach them things that I've already learned the lesson on. I mean, I think it's important to note that even though it's been a great run, there have been some like dark night of the soul moments. There's a lot of contrast that you go through when you're awakening, and when you're opening up your gifts, and you're ascending, and when you're doing the spiritual work, when you're going, a lot of times in this world we talk about, in our spiritual teachings and in the personal development space, we talk about, getting high vibe, and that's great, but sometimes it's going deeper. That's it's the going deeper. It's the really sitting and going within that to me has made the biggest difference, not just trying to get high and happy all the time. I mean, that's a great thing too, but I also want to I want to go deep. I want to go deep in with it. So,
Yeah, that's definitely a piece of the awakening, right? Is like, is all the no, you have to be high vibe all the time. And really, sometimes you have to see the darkness in order to see the light beyond it. And that was actually the next question that I could feel percolating was one of the ways you've always inspired me is that it seems like your faith in the divine and source, the universe, whatever you want to call this energy, is truly unshakable. But
it
let's
is.
let's go explore, like, have there been moments where your faith was tested or your trust in the divine was tested? And how did you come out of it? What
Yeah.
changed?
Well, I think very early on, I remember I was like walking through my garage to get into my car, and I was on my way to do a reading, and I was just starting out, like had maybe just done a couple, but I was going to somebody's house to do a group reading, and I was feeling really anxious and nervous about it. And I heard the words of, like, I felt source, I felt spirit connection connecting to me, and I heard the words, I heard source speak to me, we are never going to let you fall. And I like it like instantly brings tears to me because I remember just like stopping dead in my tracks going like I can't mess this up. Like the universe is never going to let me fall. Like spirit is never going to let me show up someplace, be ready to share my gift with the world, and like nothing happens, nothing comes to me and through me. Like I can always tap in, it's always there for me. And I've done thousands of readings since that moment, and that has been the case every single time. I've never once not been supported. Have I had some lessons along the way? Absolutely. Welcome to life. Like that is like absolutely the case. I mean, there have been some lessons along the way. There have been some moments with the universe where I'm like, oh, why? Why is this happening? Why? I mean, I think again, it's in those moments of contrast that, man, our greatest lessons in light happen. And so, it's like I love Steve Jobs, and I love the way he talks about, if you've ever seen his inaugurational speech that he gives to like Harvard, I think it was, he talks about like connecting the dots throughout your life. And you can't see it in the moment how to connect all of the dots, but that's one of those things where you look back and you're like, okay, that's why I had to go through that. There's a dot there. That's why I had to go through that. Now I get to connect these dots. You get to connect all of the dots. They're never left. They're it's never for no reason at all. It's always for a divine reason.
Yes, just feeling into my own dots and how so many of us over the years, and it's like it really feels like 2020 has been, it's been called the Great Awakening in 2020. Like we've entered the portal of the Great Awakening, and how so many people, myself included, like we really went through some periods of the dark night of the soul in 2020 that we're saying, okay, how do you want to show up? Who do you want to be? And it's definitely been trying. And at the same time, I've also heard people say that 2020, for all of its challenges, was the best year of their life thus far.
I would agree with that. It was definitely up there, and it was definitely one of them. Although 2021 has been shaping up to be pretty good too. When you're asking those questions, I think the one that gets me the most, the one that gets me through the most is, how do I want to serve? How do I feel called to serve? Not anything else, but just like, and universe, how would you have me serve today? What would you have me say today? What magic would you have me bring to the world? What message do you have that somebody else needs to hear? And when you can be intentional with your time and your space to like connect in there first, oh my gosh, the rest of your day can be so glorious. It can just be so glorious.
So I'm laughing to myself because, the card that I picked one of your beautiful cards today, this
Oh,
morning.
yes.
What message wanted to come through for the reading? And I apologize for the noise in the background. That's the neighbor's gardener is here. Um,
I can't hear it.
oh, good. I'm
Just so you
glad.
know, we can't hear it.
Good. Thank you. My good microphone here. But the card I picked was clairvoyance. And it's like
Mm,
I'm feeling these questions well up, and then you give me the perfect intro to them, and I'm just laughing to myself, right? Like the divine is truly coming in. And I wanted to ask you, I know you often have coffee with the universe, but what are some of the daily non-negotiable activities you incorporate into your life to connect to the divine, both in your work and personally?
yeah. So I think the first thing is, even though I'm not a super structured person, there is sacred space in the morning that I have to have. I have to have my coffee with the universe, which is really what some people call journaling. Mine's a little different where I write down questions in my journal, and then I wait to hear the answer from the universe, and then I write the answer in my journal. It's a practice I've done forever. I love it. Um, the I always pick a set of like oils that I'm going to diffuse. I really love essential oils. They just really help change the frequency of my home, of me, my office. So essential oils are always important. Sometimes I use cards, not always. Um, but the one that has really shifted and changed the most for me in the last few years has been connecting into the elements of air, earth, fire, and water, and finding a personal power pattern within myself of knowing I go through these cycles. Some people use astrology. I know you use astrology. It's amazing. I use the elements in just a very unique, just very proprietary way that I feel we go through these phases of being in different elements. And I honor the element I'm in and only take action that is aligned with that element. And that has brought me probably the most consistent success that I've had in my entire career. Um, Success. It's helped with mindset, belief. It's just so really honoring the element I'm in, listening and having a beautiful conversation with the universe and my oils. Those three things for sure. And
So
of course
having
the kiss.
that structure around your daily non-negotiables with different things. And I'm the question that comes to mind is they bring you these tools, these activities, whatever you want to call them, bring you so
Mhm.
much. How have they also helped you set boundaries in your work and in your personal life? Because so often when we start using our gifts, we just want to give them all away, and we don't set boundaries around scheduling, when we're seeing clients, different, just those different areas of our lives. So how has working with the elements and your other non-negotiables helped you set boundaries in ways that then allow you to flourish?
Yeah. So number one is I got really good at only doing what feels really good. And I think as women, that's really hard for us to do. We're programmed, we're taught at such a young age to put everybody first, our kids first, our partners, our friends, our family, our moms, our dads. We were taught to literally take care of everybody around us first. And then whatever's left over, give to yourself. And I operated in that way for a really long time until I realized that when I'm the best mom is when I'm the best version of me. And that comes from putting myself first and doing things that make me feel really good. When I am at my best with my husband, when we're just like in our zone, we're jiving, like things are just great. That's when I'm taking the time to take care of myself, to give myself that space. I can show up as the best version of me. And so that, that I think if you're going to take anything away from this call, anybody who's listening and watching, man, when you do that, it's not selfish. It's it's success. That's what's going to give you the most success. I really believe that. I feel like of all the things the airlines have done, that's the one thing they got right, which is to say, give yourself the oxygen mask first before trying to help other people. So that would be number one. Number two is I really wholeheartedly believe in the energy of the elements. And for example, if I'm in an air, if I'm in an air time, an air period, that's when I know I'm going to do my best marketing. That's when I'm going to do my best writing and content creation. So that's where I like am dedicated and committed to spending my time and my energy, because I know that I'm in my zone of magic. I know I'm in the right place at the right time. It really, you create your own divine timing when you follow the elements is is really what it shakes out to be. So
And there's a cycle to that, right? Just like women have their menstrual cycles,
mhm.
the moon has its lunar cycle, the elements also have, and we have our cycles of higher energy, lower energy, more ideas, more rest, etc.
Yes, yes, yes. And obviously, like the elements are as old as the universe itself, right? We're talking air, earth, fire, and water. So it's not like I'm claiming my stake on the elements by any means. But what I do help women find is their own natural elemental pattern. And it's unique to everybody. It's different. Everybody has their own. Um, and when you find it, like I've never had so many women just have like epiphanies and ahas and breakthroughs, and oh my gosh, they don't feel like they're pushing anymore. They're not beating themselves up mentally anymore. They feel clearer than they've ever felt. They're taking actions in ways that they've never taken before because it feels aligned. So yeah, I could talk, and I do talk for days about about all those things.
Well, I do feel that that is something that our 3D world or patriarchal world or whatever you want to call it, it's moved us away from these natural rhythms, right? And it says just push through it. There's this lesson, I feel like what you were talking about, what we've learned at a young age is just push through it. You'll get through it. Have that extra cup of coffee. Or
You
a
see
lot.
my face, right?
Right, exactly.
No.
Right, exactly. That's what we're taught. And yet if we could honor human beings for their natural rhythms and cycles. I mean, imagine if every woman were allowed a day off from her work or her job on that day of her menstrual flow, where she's just
Right.
really feeling heavy. Maybe she's got some cramps, she's feeling that weight, and even her maybe being fair and giving men that day too, but just recognizing that we have these cycles. And are we really helping anybody by pushing through it?
Well, if we're going to talk about men's cycles, first of all, they go through that cycle in a 24-hour period where we go through it throughout the 28-day period. So they don't get the extra day. No, I'm kidding. But the other thing that I like really gets me fired up is that most people don't realize, like, do you know why? Like, we have a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 calendar. Most people don't realize why that is set that way. And it's because I need to get my statistics exactly right on this, but you can Google it. It's true. Back in like the early like 20s, 30s, 40s, when they were establishing the Monday through Friday 9 to 5 work week, it was because that's when a man's testosterone is at his peak. Is Monday through Friday 9 to 5. And I was like, of course, that's why we have this calendar, like, so I think instead of trying to fit yourself into that type of calendar, trying to fit yourself into that kind of box, the using the elements, understanding energy at a deeper level can help you know when you're at your peak, when you're at your best, when you need to rest, when you should be sharing your gifts, when you should be marketing, when you should be selling, when you should be strategizing. I believe there's a formula for everybody, and when you honor it and follow it, you get the results that you want. I know it, like I know it to be true. I know it. It's amazing.
Yeah, you've been living it now for, is it 2 years you've been,
Couple years,
yeah,
really into the elements for
that
a
it's
couple
really
years.
coming
Yeah.
in. I wanted to ask you about maybe a couple of client stories that you could share with
Sure.
us about where people have really tapped into their natural rhythm around the elements, tapped into their intuition, which is so hard for people these days. And some
Mhm.
of the, not just, I don't want to say not just material success, but how you really saw them like have those aha moments around who they are.
Yeah, one of the clients that comes to mind, I think about her specifically was she was just really she was burnt out. I mean, she's an entrepreneur, but she had just been hustling and forcing and pushing and like trying all these different things and just feeling like she was just not having the success that she wanted. And one of the things for her was that she wasn't really giving herself any time off. And so we looked at, when is your water week going to hit for you? Because when you're in your water is when you really want to be doing, I kind of think of it of all the words that start with RE. You want to be resting, rejuvenating, relaxing, reading. It's a really just there's no push. It's a go with the flow. There's lots of resistance. There's a healing that happens. Your water moments are just you're not meant to be on and pushing and marketing and selling and sending emails and all these things. You're not meant to be pushing. And so we started building that time for her into her calendar where she had that space to give herself grace. And within a matter of just a couple months of doing that, she went from 10K months to 40K months.
Wow.
True story. Yeah, true story.
Wow.
She just paid
That's
for a Tesla in cash.
it's incredible how we can manifest and
Yeah.
again, not just financial abundance, but just abundance in so many different ways when we surrender. I feel
Oh,
like
yeah. I mean,
when we
and
stop trying to control the process.
she feels like a different person when we connect. I mean, she's filling her calendar with activities that fill up her soul. She's taking time to like get good food. She hired a house manager to like support her more in her home. Like there's a lot of beautiful things that can happen when you honor the elements, when you trust your intuition, when you follow that more than you follow any other freaking marketing guru or funnel expert. Like, oh good lord, there is definitely now. I think the other thing on the flip side of it is, I recently had a client who she had a really hard time not having that male masculine strategy. She had a really hard time with it, of not acting as a project manager, almost not having a strict deadlines, and not being able to just go with the flow. She needed more structure and templates, and that's not going to work with me. That's not going to work with the elements. Like, like you're just not quite there. Like, so you have to really open to, I want to say like radical change, to go against some things that we've been taught. Again, I mean, like, you go to school Monday to Friday. It's these certain set times. You like follow these rules. You fall in line. And we're not here to fucking fall in line. We're here to draw a line of what we're no longer willing to stand for. Like, we're just not like gonna do that anymore. We're gonna do it in our way. And those are the women that I'm with. I'm with the light leaders, with the soul blazers, with the change makers, because we need more of that
Well,
on this
it makes me
planet.
wonder where Saturn is in her natal chart. Just send her to me for a reading. I'd be curious.
I have no idea.
But really, like as you're talking, I just feel like you are really bringing in a new model of incorporating the divine feminine. And I also believe that the divine masculine is so important, but it isn't. The divine masculine is not that rigid authority. You must do it this way and you must follow this structure. That's really the old way, the old religions, the old business, the old way of
I call it the
being.
pale male and stale way.
Yeah, and it
The
doesn't serve us.
PMS. It's not a coincidence, girl.
No, it is not, man. I love that. That's the yeah, that's the PMS we don't really want. Why do you feel like it is so hard for people to trust their intuition and to trust their gifts?
Well, I think it's hard for people to trust their intuition because following it is not usually the easiest path. I think following your intuition has been made into this like, oh my gosh, just follow your intuition and everything's gonna following your intuition is freaking hard. It is usually the harder path. It is usually the one that is going to bring you the most turmoil. It's going to be the one that makes you go deeper. It's going to be the one that makes you create boundaries. It's going to be the one that you have to have those graceful releases of people in your life that they shouldn't be there anymore, but you're holding on and clinging anyway. So that's why most people don't. They know it's the right way, but it's not the easy way.
Yeah. Well, at first it's not. I've been having these conversations with my 20-year-old daughter around, we have these deep conversations around, physical sovereignty and around intuition and using our head versus our heart and how do you combine them, which they're beautiful conversations. And what she realizes when you do make that decision, like when you listen and you follow through on that intuition, she's feeling it as a physical release, like,
Yeah, for
oh,
sure.
like a big sigh. And that,
And
so,
it's really the decision she made is what's giving her that.
yeah,
I think about like the first step in manifesting anything is deciding what you want, you know? And I always get this like beautiful image of like, I make this decision and I claim it and I say it and this is what I want, this is what I'm deciding. And I see this row of doors, like this infinite row of doors from the universe, like all these doors closing, going, all of them closing. And then on the same hallway on the other side, I see all these new doorways that just start to open and they go, all the way back this way for me. And I think that's where it can sometimes just be so like overwhelming to think about everybody that's making decisions. The universe is doing that for you over and over and over for all of us. And it's also syncing up our doorways. It's also syncing up that all of these doorways are for everybody's highest good. And it can just become that like, oh, just like that freaking snowball effect of one decision. So that's why she's feeling so much relief. Might not
hmm.
even just be all for her. It's for other people that decision impacts. It's for other people that are going to have relief from her making that decision. It's decisions are where all of your power is.
Mhm.
Totally.
I love that. Yes. And you are making some decisions, I understand, around your own business. So even though you've been so
Mhm.
successful in serving women in a certain way, you're now thinking about doing some rebranding and feeling into your own gifts. And can you share a little bit more about that process for us?
Yeah, yeah. So for the last, gosh, I don't, the last 5 years, I have had two very different messages that are coming from me. I love intuitive business coaching, psychic business coaching. And there's also this part of me that really loves just just honing in on women. What is it that they want to manifest? What is it they want to create in their life and in their business? And not getting into, what kind of marketing plan do we put together for this? And I love those things, but I'm just not loving the strategy of business as much as I love the energy of business. And so, yeah, so I'm having, I guess the best word is like I'm kind of splitting branches. So I am partnering with her name is Laura Wright. She's a sales coach. We've been co-coaching together inside of masterminds and programs together for about 6 years, off and on together. It's been amazing. And so we're joining forces, where we're talking about really becoming partners and co-creating and collaborating and doing all things around online business and sales and strategy and marketing and doing all of those things together. And then for the other half of my business, which will really be Amber Annette, is where I'm going to really focus more on the life, um, life purpose and manifesting coaching. So all things psychic, soul, and spirit. Very
And
excited.
are you still going to be using those medium skills that came in 2013? How do those continue to show up in your work?
Yeah. Well, I think what's interesting is, I have a client, for example, she's in a mastermind that I co-run with Laura, and her grandma recently passed away. And so she was just kind of stuck. She was kind of stuck and struggling in her business a little bit, just not feeling, just not feeling motivated, just still in a state of grieving. And so we did a reading for her and connected her there. And since then, I mean, just amazing messages, things that were just so beautiful and valid and so specific that there's no way, I would, she knew it was her grandma. And so it changes how she is now able to take action in her business, you know? So there's times that I weave it in, but I really want to weave it in more to some of that like spiritual, psychic soul coaching. I love teaching women how to go to the soul level to help their clients to strengthen their own relationships with their partner, with their kids, with, you know, inside of maybe their career, whatever it is. I love working with them and teaching them how to go deeper and activating their own gifts. I think it sounds weird. I used to have a really hard time like saying this or claiming this, but if you hang around me, you're going to get psychic. It just is.
It's contagious, the best kind of contagious.
Absolutely contagious. I cannot tell you how many women have gone through my stuff, have come to my events, and they're like legit psychics now because and isn't it interesting? That's what happens to me too. So I do think that we awaken each other. It's 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 activating, it's healing, and it's empowering all in one.
So the question that's bubbling up right now is, what is your vision for the divine feminine as we go through this awakening, as we go through these shifts? How can we call the divine feminine into our lives and I feel like more importantly into our community with one another?
I don't use the word divine feminine as much as I do use the word, intuition, as much as I use the word soul, as much as I use the word universe. And for me, I think it's when you go within to become the happiest, healthiest version of yourself that you get to go serve the world at, at your highest level. And when we are at our highest level is when we get to serve, like it's serving at our deepest level is what's going to bring us to our highest level. So it's that balance of the two, so if you want to call that the masculine and the feminine, I just, it's time for us all to keep activating each other. It's time to lean in to maybe what feels uncomfortable and maybe what feels maybe a little intimidating and scaring, but it's also seeing that again, those curiosities can turn to callings and impulses can turn to inspiration and messages can turn into movements. And that's what we're here to do right now. We're here to spark movements.
Mm. What I'm hearing, it's like listening to that little voice, the voice that you heard saying, "We'll never let you fail," right? Just try it. Just try it. Just see what happens. Trust it.
Yeah.
Those little pushes and guidance and knowing that the universe always has our back.
Yeah.
Right? And that
the universe knows what it's doing.
Yeah. And as we rise as our highest self in service, we receive back too.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's an energetic exchange, I mean, I think that's the thing that you always have to be feeling into is this a give and take? Is this a push and pull? Is, like, energetically, are you receiving back as much as you're giving out? And when you find that balance, you're going to have it's a trickle down effect. I mean, then you're going to have the balance inside of your relationships, inside of your bank accounts, inside of your calendar, like all across the board. So
That
pay attention to
spaciousness.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel like there might be a message. I've been feeling in that there might be a message that wants to come in through you today for the people who are listening. If we could just take a moment to feel into that.
I feel like so many of the people that are going to be listening here are at a crossroads trying to decide. And if you're going to take something away from this, take away that you get to choose, you get to decide. There's nothing that's predetermined, there's nothing that is laid out in the cards for you. You get to be the creator, and the thoughts you're thinking, the emotions you're feeling today is what's creating that reality for you tomorrow. And there's a lot of things that can show up in society and social media, in the day-to-dayness of day-to-dayness. And when you can just really connect into but what's calling to me, um, you can turn on like your most powerful creator mode ever.
Mm. I feel so complete with that. That feels so
Good.
beautiful.
Way to put me on the spot.
Well, yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I could just feel it. It was like,
Oh, I love it.
there's something that wants to come in. Before we share with everyone listening today and watching today how they can find you, is there anything else that you feel called to share with those here today?
I feel complete. Thank
Mm,
you so much for having me.
it's
And for
been
to be your inaugural, yes. Cheers, lady. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, the honor is mine, privilege is mine. And for us to be on this journey together it definitely, it's like, heck yeah, we can do this because we got women like each other stepping up for us and helping
Absolutely.
guide us. And I feel like
Better
that's
together.
right. You're never alone. You never have to go through any of this alone. If you choose to be by yourself because you need some quiet, it's one thing, but you never have to go through it alone. All right. So if you'll just, how can people find you? Where can people find you if they want to work with you or follow you? What are the best ways to find you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely across all social media platforms. I'm Amber Annette, or some places I guess it's Ask Amber Annette. Otherwise, amberannette.com. And I think we have a fun masterclass that we're giving that we're going to include in the show notes or something like that. I think
Yeah.
the link
Yeah. I'll
for
put
people to
something
check
down
out
there.
too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, thank you so
fabulous.
much for joining us. Oh
My
my
gosh,
gosh,
this is great.
I just feel like I just got to sit down and have coffee with you in person, like sitting out on the lake, and just like you're just such a ray of light and such a ray of hope,
Oh,
and the
thank
way you
you.
channel I personally, for myself, and so grateful that you listened to that calling way back when.
Thank you. I love you too, girl.
Yeah, I do love you. Isn't Amber amazing? You can see why she is one of my favorite people on this planet, and how she continues to inspire me and so many others, countless others, to be their best selves as well. And what a privilege to have her as my guest for the inaugural episode of Divinely Inspired. I hope that you found this interview helpful, and stay tuned for our next episode. If you have any questions, please comment below, or please feel free to send me an email at hello@divinelyjennifer.com, or go ahead and head over to my website, www.divinelyjennifer.com, or head over to Amber's website, www.amberannette.com. Have a beautiful day, my friend, and we'll see you the next time.